Welcome, everyone, to the Rachel and Koyote show. And of course, my co host here, Rachel, she is a therapist and a life coach, and she's just inspirational. She's a great friend. And we're going to talk about masculinity today. How are you today, man?
Good. Oh, I love this topic.
Well, it's something that I told you I'm passionate about because masculinity to me, that's somebody who will step up to the plate. They will take care of their family. They're not afraid to stand up for what they believe in. All these kind of things. That's somebody that their children can look up to, can rely on, that kind of thing. And there's plenty of good masculine men out there, just like there's good women out there. um, but there's a trend that seems, you see it on social media, and I've said this in videos before: social media does not represent society as a whole. You have a
Hmm.
small amount of people that just have a loud voice on social media because they ain't got nothing better to do with their lives and try to make everybody else miserable. But I don't want people to think that all there is these, what we call soy boys. And we kind of discussed, is that really a thing? But there's too many guys out there that they have given away their masculinity. They have given away their independence, their strength, because they don't want to offend people. And anytime a man wants to step up and be a man, they call it toxic masculinity. What happened to the days when we looked up to people like John Wayne and Clint Eastwood, these kind of folks? I still like to go hunting, fishing. I chew tobacco and I spit, and every once in a while I'll even let a curse word fly out. But I don't mind standing up for what I believe in. I will take one for the team if it means my family's survival. I just think that we should push that instead of what we see on social media, if that makes
Yes.
sense. So,
Yes.
what's your take on it?
Yeah. So I like the passion, and it makes sense because you're a man, so it truly affects you. And, as a woman, I'm looking around and I'm observing. So it's a little bit different for me because I'm not a man. But I too am very passionate about men's issues. I feel like it is something that is very important. I got kids, I got two boys, I have male friends. So, it matters to women too, this issue. And I like how you describe it. You have your own meaning to what is masculine. And that's the thing. Everybody kind of has their own meaning based on who they admire, how they were raised, or what they themselves decide is what they want. So this masculinity, it is broad, and yet it's also not, because there's certain biological markers. Men and women are different. And perhaps, you start there because right now there's this conversation where they are trying to merge the genders. By they, I mean, whoever they are. And so,
Yeah.
people, tiny minority with the microphone, they say now we can use the same bathroom, and, you know, you know, boys can play with girls' toys. It's no big deal. And I think it's no big deal if that's what you want. But this shaming for being a man, I think, is ridiculous and
I
absurd.
I
There's a
agree with you.
biological marker, and you start there. There are differences.
Of course. Well, and don't get me wrong. I have friends, I have family that are homosexual,
Yeah.
and even though they're feminine in a lot of ways, they still step up to the plate. They take on the role as a parent, or a provider. And eh, eh, you know these are people that you look up to. I'm not saying you have to look a certain way, dress a certain way, blah 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 blah. I think it is more what's inside of you. But what's wrong with a man wanting to be a man? What's
Yeah.
wrong with the guy wanting to go hunting and go fishing and watch sports and all these things, barbecue, drink beer, whatever it is that guys like to do? What I consider not to be a man is somebody that say will take advantage of a woman, you know, sexually. You can't say certain words on YouTube and stuff like that, but that's not a real man. Um, somebody, gosh, I want to stay on the positive side with this, but I feel like if you can stand up for what you believe in, and you need something. If you don't stand for something, like they say, you'll fall for anything,
Yes.
and you have to be there for your family. You know, I I have children that they're not from my loins, but they're still my children. If you can't step into that role, then you don't need to be married and have these. I call them my bonus kids. I don't call them my stepchildren.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I can rant and rave on this all day long. I get fired up when I think about this because there's just too many guys out there that have given away every little bit of dignity and masculinity to, I guess, to cave in to the masses, if you want to
Yes.
put it that way.
Yeah. So I would say that, it's probably not the masses, it's probably a tiny minority, but they scream the loudest. And, it's okay to be fired up about things that you believe, and you're a man. And it's very interesting because for you, you're equating a lot of these masculine traits, because, like I said, everybody has an idea of what they think is masculine, and you equate them many to value sets, things that you value. And I also like that because when you have a value, it's something that's very real. So, what the world says to value are status, looks, and money. And so people think like that's the top of the mountain, that's what you attain, that's what you want. But those things can be taken away, and they are truly not as interesting and have as much depth and meaning as the value sets. So I like that you equate these masculine traits. And I would encourage men, instead of thinking about what the tiny minority is shouting very loudly, what it is to be a man, and instead of looking what the world values, status, looks, and money, maybe think about masculinity, of what you want it to be in terms of things that you value. And so, if you value things like family, faith, freedom, whatever you value, you choose, then you do things for those values. That is your way of being masculine. And you can choose that. Yes.
Well, I'll also mention that I have Native American in my family, and I also have the Nordic kind of Viking in my blood.
Yes.
And we can go on and so on and on and on, but these guys, they went out and they hunted. They brought
Yes.
home the food for the family, and they took care of everyone's needs, as a man is expected to do. And they didn't let the females just do everything. You know what I mean? And there, don't get me wrong. I don't want anybody to misunderstand what I'm saying. Women can be strong. Women work and they make a living. They can be independent. That's great. But at the same time, like when I became disabled, my wife took over a lot of the things that I couldn't do anymore, like, bringing home the bacon. Let's put it that way. But inside, I felt defeated because I wasn't able to do the things that I felt like a guy should have to do. Well, my wife reassured me. She's like, you know what? There comes a time when you do what you say in your vows, for better, for worse, for sicker, all those things. And even though, I'm on disability, that kind of thing, I'm doing everything that I can to get back to where I can work again. I haven't just given up. And I think even if you're not able to, even if you become to the point you're disabled, you cannot work anymore, it I understand that, but don't give up.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
that's what being a man to me is.
Yeah. You know, if the core hallmark of being a masculine man is protect and defend, which many men feel, in a way it's almost a biological drive. And, there are two ways to think about this. There's the physical and the mental. And so sometimes you go to work, you fight your demons on the workforce, but there's the mental peace, that strength that you're there for your family, or that you love your wife, or that you do what you say you will do. You're
Right.
honest, you're loyal, things like that. So, physical and mental, you've brought up that peace, very beautiful, because you can sort of tweak how you view masculinity as you go through life. Maybe at one stage when you're a young man, it means more, the physical. Maybe when you're older, you're like, no, I think the mental is just as important. So that's okay too. Yeah.
Well, my thing is just don't give up. You keep trying, even when you get knocked down. That's masculinity too. If you get up, even when you get knocked down, you don't ever give up, no matter what it is. Even if it's just trying to start a business, or I don't know, you could name all kinds of different things. If you just keep trying, even when you fail, you pick yourself up. That's being a man.
Yes.
That's at least to
Yeah.
me.
There's a great mental strength that is a piece of being a masculine man. And I would say for all the, young kids and anybody who is looking for a mentor, I would say think about men that you admire, that have values that
Hmm.
you like. And it's very hard because you can listen to the tiny minority and think, what's wrong with me? I just want to be a good man. Or, why are they saying that, shaming men? What's going on? And you cannot internalize that message. You have to look for good men.
Hmm.
You have to listen to things that jive with your values. You know,
Hmm.
shut out all the noise. If you don't think it sounds right, you're like, hey, you know, shaming men, like, what's wrong with you? I think that too. It's like, what's going on? You know what? Listen to your gut. If it doesn't sound right, maybe it's not. Just because someone's shouting it does not mean it's right.
That's right. Well, someone say like my grandfather, he had values that I still hold near and dear to me to this day. Now, granted, there was a lot of things we didn't exactly see eye to eye on, but for the most part, I wanted to be like my grandfather.
Mhm.
He got injured back in the '60s, and he was not able to work anymore. He was paralyzed from the waist down, but he, even though he stumbled when he walked, he learned how to walk again. He wasn't going to give up, and that's the kind of attitude that I wanted to have. And it sticks with me. My back problems. I have a degenerative problem in my bones, and I've had surgery, a couple of surgeries already,
Yeah.
and I'm still not giving up, even though I'll never be 100% again. I mean, who knows what I can do if I just don't give up. And here's another thing, and like I say, there's a lot of good men, there's a lot of good women out there, but at the same time, there's people that are kind of close to me in age, maybe about 10 years younger, and then of course older,
Yes.
that they're single. These women are single because they said they can't seem to find a good man. They can't find a masculine man. They're finding these wimps that they they can't take care of business, and so they just as soon stayed on their own until that right guy comes along. So I don't know, what do you come across?
Yeah. Well, so, I'll be honestly, I know that, the men will say, hey, there's no good women, and the women will say there's no good men. And, when you're discouraged, and dating is like a jungle, it's hard out there. So, you know, there is truth to how you feel. I would never say to someone that their experience is not valid. My experience is that I know amazing men I know amazing women, and I think that there is a component that people will change and step up. So, nobody is perfect. And so I think that some of these men that the women are disregarding, it's possible that it's, like a first impression, or, who knows, some misunderstandings, but it also could be that they are bitter because they have allowed certain behavior, and then it just reinforces there's no good men. Because I can guarantee you, some of those no good men, they will step up for someone else. Now, maybe it truly was that they were young, or they were coming off a rough patch and they needed to work on themselves. That's very possible. Whatever that person's experience with that man, it's valid.
Mm.
But to say that there are no good men or no good women, there are a few very unsavory characters, but everybody is on a continuum of choices that they make. Sometimes they treat a woman badly, sometimes they make a bad choice. This does not make you a bad man. I doubt there's a man on the planet who hasn't, brushed off a woman, or, been a little
Of course.
disrespectful here or there. And the women have treated men badly too. So you can't really take it in that vacuum. I guarantee you, some of those men that the women have disregarded, if that man, I think he should go to therapy. If he went to therapy, if he found a man who was a mentor, and he also found a woman who expected more of him. It's not that he's a loser, he's washed up, he's, you can't do anything with this man. No, lots of potential, but there is an element where the man has to say, hey, I will at least take a step in the right direction. And then eventually that man will be a masculine man. That's what I think.
To a man that is confident in his masculinity, you will, number one, you will not raise a hand to a woman. Number two, you don't cheat on a woman. And number three, I say you put the needs of your family ahead of your own. You don't have to be that rough cowboy guy to be a real man. I mean, I know there's guys that are CEOs and other entrepreneurs that they dress nice every day and everything, but they're still a man. They're masculine. And so you need confidence in yourself. If you're confident, you won't go out and cheat. You won't raise your hand to a woman. You will give everything to your family. You will take care of your family. You do all these things if you're confident. And I know there was a time in my life when I wasn't quite as confident, and I messed around and did things like that, and that was just me not having any confidence in my masculinity. So guys, if you're listening, I'm telling you, if you really believe you're a man, you will stay faithful in every aspect of your family's life.
Yeah.
And that's all I
So
gotta say about that.
yeah. So, these are all good things to aspire to. I have an interesting take on things because of the work that I do. So when people see me, it's in triage or trauma or difficult situations. So when I see someone, you know, if you have couples counseling, there's often affairs, there's, there can be domestic violence, there can be all kinds of things going on. And so what I would say for men, it is truly a continuum.
Mhm.
The things that happen in your life or mistakes that you make, this does not define you. So you can always aspire to the mountaintop. It
Exactly.
might take a lifetime to get to the mountaintop. And if you stumble here or there, that is okay. And the confidence comes from the experience. Every time you choose to be faithful, every time you put on your shoes and your coat and you go out and you go to work, every time that you spend time with your children, you mentor another man. It is all these things that add up that you feel better, you feel secure, and you feel good. And brings that confidence. So I would say to any man out there, it's okay if you have a down day. It's okay if some days you don't feel confident. And it's okay if you've made a mistake. Get yourself to therapy, sort yourself out. And, like you said, Cal, don't give up. Don't
Exactly.
give up.
Yeah.
Every man has it in them to be masculine. And what that means to different men and how they display it is different. And then at its core, there are certain biological and certain things that are, kind of across the board. But those differences are okay too.
True. Well, a masculine man is inspirational, motivational.
Yes.
And say you don't have to be that guy that goes out to the woods every weekend and goes duck hunting or whatever. You take that role of what a man is supposed to be, just like you had stated, like I had said earlier, taking care of your family, putting the needs of your family ahead of yours, and everything else falls into place. Just don't listen to these goobers that are on social media thinking that just because you want to step up or you like football or you, like I said, you spit and you shoot guns and all those things, they call you toxic. Don't listen to that garbage. You're not toxic. You're
So,
being yourself.
so one interesting thing too is that, you know, everybody has their definition. And so for you, you greatly value putting the needs of others ahead of yourself. And so, whatever you believe, that's your beliefs. And I would say, when I work with men, I do work on value for yourself. And so, it is truly okay that you know your purpose, you know things that you want, you do things for yourself, the value that you have for yourself. You do that first, then you're able to uplift your family. So that's just a slight tweak that I would say for that. And, again, masculinity, it's on a spectrum. Everybody grew up different or have different experiences.
Mhm.
This is okay. This is okay. It truly is okay. However you define it and choose to be, you know, that's all right.
Sure. Well, a lot of people are so scared of being canceled because they want to speak their mind, and I just say, forget all that garbage. Be
Yes,
be who you feel you need to be.
yes. I would say the same. You don't listen to the tiny minority with the big microphone. If you feel in your gut and and then you look at the men that you admire, and you're like, what do they know? Yeah. And you go with what you know, if it makes sense. And men who are masculine, they have figured this out. Sometimes it takes a while to figure it out, but you figure it out and you don't listen to the noise, what the
That's
world
right.
says. Because the world says you will get crumbs and you will like it. And I don't think so. And I don't think the men want that or deserve that
No,
either. And,
no.
women, they like masculine men for the most part.
Mm, very true. Well, Rachel, I guess we're gonna call it a day on that note. I hope that everybody got something out of this. Uh, Women, there are real men out there, and guys, you want to be a real man. Don't listen to all that noise, just like Rachel said. But thanks everyone for joining us. If this is your first time watching the channel, thank you for coming. Please subscribe. If you have joined us again, thank you for your support. We really appreciate you. And until the next one, take care and peace.